This is how to create better financial goals. If you're new to me, my name's Chris, and I've paid off $43,000 of debt in just over a year using this five-step framework that I'm going to be going over in this free workshop. Okay. Now, I'm also helping people go through this framework in my free personal finance community, but more on that a little later on. Let's just jump right into the workshop here. So in this presentation, we're going to discover the benefits of financial goals, the types of financial goals, how to prioritize them, the goal setting framework that we're going to be using in this workshop. You're going to be able to actually do this yourself, which is awesome. And by the end of this, you'll be creating your very own financial goals. Okay. But first, we have to start and define what is a financial goal, because I think the term can be a little loosey goosey, in my opinion. So, a financial goal is a clear purpose driven target for your money that aligns with what matters most to you. Why do they matter? Okay. So, I talk about this framework called the North Star goals. North Star goals is the things that matter to you the most. So, what I would recommend you do is, if you're watching this live now, thanks for being here. If you're watching this, the replay, get out a piece of paper or your phone or something and write down the most important things that matter to you the most. They could be 2 things, 20 things, 1,000 things. It doesn't really matter. It could be life goals. They could be current things that are happening in your life, future financial goals. It could be literally anything you want. And I think this image for me really kind of depicts the thought process that I have behind it. It might just look like a very quick clip art thing that I added to this, but I actually spent a lot of time trying to find a perfect image to kind of go along with this. And here's kind of what I'm thinking. A lot of people would see this picture and they would just assume, okay, this person is going to hike up this mountain and try to get to the top, right? To the financial goals. I have that pointed here. But what would happen if, say, we zoomed out of this shot and there's not just one path. There's a path to the left. There's a path to the right. There's a path maybe around the mountain on the other side, and he zigzags his way up. He can go vertically up the mountain. My point is, there's not one way to climb the mountain to reach the financial goals. There's more than one way. And hopefully in this workshop, we're going to kind of we're gonna see that. We're gonna go through that, and I'm hopefully trying to change maybe your thought process around financial goals. So, that's kind of the story behind that clip art picture there. But financial goals help you control your money instead of letting it control you. So once we are in control of where our money is going and what our money is doing, that's more powerful than reacting to money things. We want to be proactive to money things. It gives us a direction, motivation, and a plan for the future. It's very exciting when you have a targeted plan, even if it's not perfect all the way through, right? But if you have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and you start doing those things, and it's very, very, very motivating to kind of keep you moving forward. Raise your hand if your mind has ever felt like this when you're thinking about your finances or just really anything in life. So without your financial goals or without any sort of structure or purpose, this is probably what we've all been through, right? But we want this. We want the straight line. The benefits to financial goals, and we're going to be getting to the five-step framework in a second here, but the benefits are going to help us make informed decisions, right? We're going to prioritize our spending based on these goals, because now we're going to be aligning our North Star goals to, our this five-step framework that we're going to talk about. It's going to help us track our progress versus where we are to where we want to be. Obviously, reduce stress. So I'm sure you've all been there. I know I have, where it's like, why isn't this working? Over 10 years ago, personally, I was living paycheck to paycheck. I didn't know about financial goals. I just was kind of living, week, just kind of going through life, trying to stay busy, and then not really understanding where my money went and why I don't have any to do the stuff that I want to do with, right? And then achieve long-term success. And that sounds kind of fluffy, but I think after we go through this workshop today, I think you're going to think differently about that. There's 3 different types of financial goals. We have short-term goals, which are 12 months or less. We have medium-term goals, which are 1 to 5 years, okay? And then long-term goals, which are 5+ years. And this is a very important way to think about goals because if you have a larger goal that you're thinking about, we can't get there without, accomplishing smaller goals along the way. So I think it's really important to have at least one financial goal or life goal. This kind of works with anything that you want it to do, but we're talking about finances right now. So have one short term goal, at least one medium term goal, and at least one long term goal. And then how do we prioritize financial goals, right? Because now, if you've gone through kind of the suggestions I've been making here, you have a list of all this stuff. It's like, how do I prioritize what the actual goal is to, start working on? So in your maybe North Star goal list, or you just make another list. It's like, what are my problems? What are my financial challenges right now? What are the urgent ones? Maybe you just make a list of the urgent ones. You rank them in order of importance. Okay. So it's like, which one, if you solved first, would probably solve the rest of them on that list? That's the one that we want to solve first. And also, we want to look at maybe the current resources and time needed to solve each problem. So we kind of want to rank them in order of importance, but also like, ooh, how long is this going to take me to get there, right? Because if we say, I want to save $1 million, that's different than I want to pay off $20,000 in debt, right? Both of those could be like urgent problems, but the resources and time on paying off $20,000 of debt and saving $1 million are very, very different. Okay. So we just have to think about it like that too. Okay, Chris, this is great and all, blah, 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 but how do you make a goal? So this is introducing the SMART framework for financial goals. I did not make up this acronym, but it's just been a very helpful tool for me as I've been kind of progressing through my journey personally. And I hope that it does the same for you. I'd love your feedback as we kind of go through this here. The first letter is S for specific. And specific, we want to have clear, detailed answers to the questions of who, what, when, why, and where. But before we dive into that, we have to think about what a bad goal is, right? Before we know what a good goal is, we have to know what a bad goal is. So here we go. Boom. I want to be debt free. It's a bad goal. Why? Because I don't think it's a goal. I think it's a thought. It's a great thought. I think everyone should have this thought, but I don't think it's a goal. So it gets an X for me. So let's go back to specific and see, try and be a little more detailed now with this thought around, okay, I want to be debt free. So who wants to be debt free? Well, I do. Yeah, I do. What? I want to pay off $3,000 of credit card debt. So now we don't want to just be debt free. We want to pay off our $3,000 of credit card debt. When do we want to do it? In the next 6 months. Okay, we're getting like very detailed already. We're getting very specific. Why do we want to do it? To be more efficient building wealth, okay? Because we all know that debt is the least efficient thing that we can be doing with our money. And I'm just going through this debt as an example, okay? But yeah, so it's like, okay, why? Well, I know that debt's very inefficient and I'd like to stop being in debt. So it's going to help me build my wealth. And then where? Well, of course, using the tools and resources provided in Dollar Discipline University, which is my free personal finance community. And yes, that is a shameless plug for the community. So which of these sounds more specific to you? I want to be debt free, or I want to pay off $3,000 in credit card debt over the next 6 months by dedicating extra money from my budget after applying new skills learned in Dollar Discipline University, right? Obviously, after just going through one of these, lettered acronyms in the SMART framework goal, this is already way better. We're way more specific. And I don't know about you, but I'd be way more likely to hang on to number 2 and really try to focus, because it's like, oh wow, there's actually a purpose here. Whereas first one, it's like, yeah, I want to be debt free. It's like, okay, what are we going to do about that? Right? So let's keep moving here to the next letter here in this acronym. We just went over specific, and now we're talking about measurable. And with this one, this is leaving no room for gray area. So either the thing happened or it didn't, right? It's very binary. So it's like, I either have debt or I don't have debt. There's no like messy middle, right? So here's kind of a quick example. I will pay $500 towards my credit card each month for the next 6 months to reach my goal of paying off $3,000. Now, what can we measure here? We can measure $500 a month. We can measure 6 months. We can measure the total of $3,000. Now, of course, I know when you're paying off debt, there's interest, so it wouldn't be this exact math, right? But I set it up pretty simply, but you kind of understand the point here. So yeah, that was a straightforward one. I hope not too much explaining needing for that one, but achievable is next, and that's the A in SMART. And with achievable, this is going to be. I'd like you to think about this as realistic and can be accomplished within your current resources and capabilities. But there's a huge caveat here because this is different for each of the type of financial goals that we talked about earlier. Short term, medium term, long term. With a short term goal, so 12 months or less, we probably want to think about goals as being realistic. So things that we can achieve with our current resources, our time, efforts, all this other stuff. A medium term goal, the 1 to 5 year range, I think we should think about the goal as being a little less realistic. And then the long term goal, I don't think we should have realistic 10 plus year goals. And here's why. This is a great quote. So if you don't know who this guy is, it's Bill Gates, the Microsoft guy. And he has a great quote that I think is so relevant to the conversation that we're having here today. Most people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. And I think it's really powerful because I'm thinking about like me in my life and how many times like a New Year's resolution failed, or like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And, you overshoot the moon in 12 months, but no one is thinking about, hey, what am I doing in 10 months? So maybe you have this 10 years. So maybe you have this 10-year goal and it's like super slow in the beginning. Like there's no progress in year one, but because of the efforts that you've been putting into those first 2 years, now your efforts, your time, your money, your sacrifices, they're all compounding. And by the time we get to 10 years, it's very possible. So I think it's just a very cool thing to think about. So don't get frustrated if like a short-term goal isn't working or it's not happening, because sometimes we're better off with the 10-year thing happening, right? And we want it to be as crazy like these people dancing. I mean, come on. Let's get crazy here. So, while we want our financial goals to be achievable, we don't want to let the word achievable slow us down, because if our goals are achievable, then we'll never be able to reach our wildest dreams, right? Because a wild dream isn't achievable. It doesn't seem achievable. So why would we want everything to be achievable? I think there's a kind of this one's kind of a gray area, I would say. Like we want the shorter stuff achievable. We want the longer stuff to just really keep motivating us. I see it as like dangling a carrot out in front of us. We want the carrot to be nice and big and juicy so that we can keep moving forward. So do not limit yourself with this achievable thought. But here's an example of the credit card debt that we're talking about. I can allocate $500 each month by reducing certain expense categories that no longer align with my North Star goals. Okay, so let's jump right into the next letter here. So we've talked about specific, measurable, achievable, and now we're talking about R, which is relevant. And this one, I think this one's my favorite. I'm just going to say it because it aligns with your larger life goals, your financial goals, your priorities. And this one's kind of just all about motivation. There are so many distractions out there for your money. So many. Like there's so many things that we could be spending money on or putting our money into, or there's so many distractions. So if we're going to stay with this example of being in debt, the debt example, and if your goal is based around debt, we should not be thinking about Bitcoin, sports betting, the new get rich quick scheme, day trading, right? Because this is what your money looks like when it gets put into many goals. So think of each of these little arrows and dollar signs as $100. Okay. There's 8 of them. Imagine you have you have all these goals, you think you're doing all this stuff. It's like, okay, cool. I'm going to make a little money over here. I'm going to invest a little bit. I want to pay off debt. Ooh, I want to save money too. Ooh, I want to do this. I want to do that. And I think we all kind of get stuck on that grind of like, oh, I have to do everything. And this is what it looks like. Just to like put it in a visual for you, this is exactly what it looks like. And while you're like, oh, I'm like, diversifying my goals. This is great. This is what it looks like when your money goes towards one goal at a time. So let's say that this is debt, and now you have $800 here towards the debt. And this is not me saying like, oh, put all your money into, one stock or one whatever, right? Whatever. This is more just like putting the focus and attention on one thing. So I'm not saying put it all on black at the casino and then you're going to come blame me for that. But this is more just like, how do we focus our attention on the goal? I just wanted to create the visual, right? Because which one of these do you think is more powerful? In this example of paying off the $3,000 of debt in 6 months, which one of these do you think would get us there faster, right? Obviously, it's the one where we're putting all of our attention to it. So paying off this $3,000 in credit card debt will free up money for savings and reduce my financial stress, which is a high priority for my peace of mind and future goals. So that's kind of the example part of this relevant framework, part of the framework. And I think it's just very important. I'm a big proponent of the North Star goals. So I think that ideally, like all of your goals should kind of funnel through and filter through your North Star goals. And even better if like, you have a long-term goal and you have a bunch of shorter term goals and they all kind of link together. I think it's just going to make things a lot easier for you to succeed and for all of us to continue to succeed. The last piece of this framework, T for time. And this is when we have a specific deadline, which creates a sense of urgency and provides a target to work for. This goal, this will work at the start of a goal. So think about timing to start, as well as the length of the goal. Okay, so let's get into that. So at the start of the goal, I wanted to include this because I think a lot of people, including me, this is also a presentation for me because we're all still trying to figure everything out, right? But how many times have you said like, oh, I'll start the new thing tomorrow. Like I'll start budgeting tomorrow. I'll start going to the gym tomorrow. So like, why not today? You know what I mean? Like, why can't we just do it now? If it's a priority, let's just do it now. And I work a 9 to 5. I don't know how many of you guys that are watching this work a 9 to 5, but let's say, I'm hoping not, but let's just say the building that you work in catches on fire, right? It's not a big deal. It's a small fire, right? But in the same vein of like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. It's like, yeah, no, I leave at 5 p.m. So I have to wait until I'll wait until 5 p.m. I'll wait until 5 p.m. I'm not going to leave right now. Sure, the fire is going on, but I'm not going to leave until 5. It's like, no, you would leave as soon as like the alarm goes off. It's like, wow, the building's on fire. So how do you instill that? How do you light that fire under you and start doing the thing you've been putting off, right? So urgency is basically the thing that I'm trying to say here. How do we create something that gives us urgency when it comes to this framework and to creating financial goals and thinking about how our money line aligns with the stuff that matters to us the most? Okay. And now time in terms of the length of goal, obviously there's different length goals, right? We have the short, the medium, and the long term. So the longer the goal, obviously the more attention and focus you need to be putting on it. The bigger the goal, the more smaller goals you can focus on, right? So if we go back to the example that I mentioned earlier, where it's like, yeah, I want to save, $1 million by whatever in 15 years, right? Just saying that out loud is very intimidating. It's like, wow, how am I going to save $1 million? It's like, well, I probably need to have like a lot of smaller goals. It's like, what would I need to do every year to make that happen? What would I need to do every month to make that happen? What would I need to do every week to make that happen? Do I need to increase my income? Do I need to realign how I'm spending my money? Do I need to recreate a North Star goal list and sort of shuffle everything around, right? So it's not just, I want to save $1 million. It's, what are the 10, 20, 100 other things, really small, that I can do to get to that goal. So let's kind of summarize here, and then we're going to go into something fun that hopefully you guys are into and that you like doing. We went through the SMART framework for financial goals. So S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, and T for time. So specific answers the who, what, when, why, and where. Measurable, either the thing happened or it didn't. Achievable, within our current resources and capabilities, with the caveat of the longer the goal, the crazier it is, and it should not be achievable. But in terms of the example that we were talking about today, a 6-month goal, right, a 12-month goal, we want to make those feel achievable with our current resources and everything like that. Relevant, it aligns with the larger goals, right? So think your North Star goals. It could be life stuff, financial stuff, and time. It's a deadline that creates urgency, right? Light that fire under your butt. Now, let's create the goal with all these elements. So let's talk about our example that we've been doing during the entire time and see how each piece of this can be very impactful. So in 6 months, my $3,000 credit card debt will be paid off. In here, we have a time factor and we have a specific factor. This means I'll need to average $500 a month towards my debt by being more intentional with my spending. So we see a measurable amount here, $500. And then an achievable part, right? Because again, it's a 6-month goal. So it's like, yeah, I can be more intentional with my spending. I can be more focused. I can be, reshuffling things around. More specifically, spending way less on things not aligned with this goal, right? And that is relevant because it's trying to link up all the goals that we have together. Sorry about that. So I'll ask you again, which one is better, this or that? this detailed structure that we've created, or I want to be debt free, right? And again, this is a great thought to have. Everyone should be debt free. But I think we've hopefully proven going through this framework that if we put a little more thought and detail in, specificity, I didn't want to use one of the words, but if we just kind of really focus in on how do I make this so that I can track this and that so it's motivating for me to keep going. And in this case, it's like an achievable thing, right? And it's lighting the fire under my butt. So if you remember this slide from earlier in the presentation, you'll be creating your very own financial goals. So what I want you to do using the SMART framework, I want you to create at least one short-term goal, at least one medium-term goal, and at least one long-term goal. Okay, so to remind you, short-term goal is anything less than 1 year. Medium-term goal is 1 to 5 years, and long-term goal is 5+ years. Okay, and if you don't know what to put for these, I mean, I would just kind of like if you've never created maybe a longer-term goal before and you don't know what to put, I think just like say something, just put something out there. Again, it can be pretty crazy. So if you're like, hey, I want to save $1 million in 10 years. It's like, just put it on the list. And this is not a set in stone list. We can change it whenever we want. Kind of like the North Star goals. You should always be kind of rethinking and like moving stuff around, because life happens fast. Right. And like for me personally, I have 2 young kids. Like life changes all the time. My wife and I go through this process, the North Star goal process, a lot, because it's like there's different priorities, there's different money priorities and time priorities and just stuff going on. And I'm sure I know everyone else is very busy as well. So just put stuff down and at least start with that, and then really try to see like, okay, how can I make this specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time oriented? So kind of to help you get started, I went through this process, and I had some that I thought through. So hopefully, maybe me going through this could help you kind of spark an idea. And if these don't feel relevant to you, I would just say like, I wouldn't necessarily like compare goals or anything like that. Everyone's at a different stage, but I just think I created these specifically to hopefully help you like jog your memory. And these are like real life things that I actually would like to happen. So, our short term goal, we need to save, my wife and I, $625 a month for the next 12 months, which is $7,500 for half of what was quoted for a new roof because the pros that came out don't think it'll last more than 5 years. So, what we're trying to do here is save half of they gave us we got quotes around like $15,000. Okay. So we're just trying to save money upfront and try to save as much money as possible. That way we don't have to like, borrow money to do this. And it says, they said we would last 5 years, but if we can get the money in 2 or 3 years, and not have to worry about it. And then when the time comes, we just move the money over to the account and pay the people. Right. So that's kind of the goal. I share this because we have been failing this goal. I shouldn't say failing. We have not been doing $625 a month. There's still time in the 12 months. I think there's like 4 months left, but we have not been saving $625 a month. It doesn't feel super. We've saved money every month, but it's not $625. So I don't want to call it a failure because we're still doing it. We're still making progress. Like we're still, let me just go back to the beginning here. We're still on the path, and we're probably not on the fastest path with this short-term goal, but we're going like the long way, the behind the scenes path here, right? So I just wanted to help, like, just because we're not reaching the goal does not mean we're failing it. So I just kind of wanted to put that framework in for you when you're creating your goals. And then if you're getting a few months in, you're like, wow, I'm not doing it. It's like, well, if you're making any progress, I think any progress is better than no progress. You're right. It's better than not starting at all. Medium term goal. This one sounds kind of crazy. So in the next 5 years, I want to be able to make twice what my wife and I currently make so that I can tell her that she doesn't have to work anymore if she doesn't want to. Now, how cool would that be? So in the next 5 years, like we would be in our early 40s. So I don't know if she would even want to do this, but like that would just be so cool for me to be able to try and do that. And that's part of the reason why I would like to leave like the 9 to 5, right? So it's like part of my part of my North Star goals is Dollar Discipline University is my free personal finance community. Part of my North Star goals is creating content on YouTube, kind of like this, doing free workshops or just helpful tutorials, things like that, to provide more value to you guys. That in 5 years, that something like this could happen, right? And then the long term goal, in the next 10 years, we want to pay off our mortgage, which is right now multiple $100,000, so that we can save a lot of money on interest. And I think that's the point where we would feel financially free if we did not have a mortgage. So these are ours. If you guys have been like watching this live, or if you're watching this later, what have you started working on for these? Do you have anything written down? I'd love to kind of help you out with this. If you're watching later on in school, you can send me a message for sure. School is the platform where my personal finance community is being run. So with that said, I'd like to actually kind of jump in there and just show you what's happening in here, because Dollar Discipline University is completely free to join. Oh, and guys, we have 99 members. All right. So if you're watching this, depending on when you're watching this, you could be the 100th member in here. It's been growing pretty quickly recently, but what I wanted to do is show you all the stuff that we have in here. So if you're in Dollar Discipline University, awesome. What's going on? Say hello. If you're watching this on YouTube later on, I still have a lot of free events and things like that that can really benefit you. So every other Friday, we do something called Finances Friday. And we're starting one this week, which is very cool. This Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern, where think of it like study hall for adults. And we're just going to jump on a call, and we're not going to talk about any topics. Everyone's just going to mute, and we're just going to work on, personal finance stuff or paying bills or working on our budget. I'm just creating a time in people's schedule in this community to be able to put time into their budget. So if you're someone where it's like, man, I don't have the time to update my budget or pay a bill or just like sit back and think of the bigger picture of my personal finances. I never get a time to do that. That's what this purpose is. I'm just putting time on people's calendar. Once a month, we have something called the Money Roundtable, and that's anyone inside this community can join. We're just going to hop in, talk about struggles, wins, things that are happening. I don't know. It's just going to be like kind of a free for all. It's not going to be me standing up here doing a lecture or a chat or anything like that. It's the whole community. Hopefully, is going to pitch in. So that's every month. Inside the classroom here. So I have just right now, I think this one video, it's 39 minutes long. This was another workshop that I did last week. I think this is pretty much everything in here that you need to pay off your debt, save more money, reach financial goals. Just this framework in this, the Power of $100 video, I would highly recommend it. It's 39 minutes. If you've been trying a lot of stuff in the past and nothing's been working, I really recommend kind of listening into this. There's been a lot of great feedback around this topic in this sort of workshop, and it's helped a lot of people. So if you're new to me, I would jump in there and definitely check that out. And then, of course, if you have, if you want to work with me personally, privately, like I have ways that you can work with me there. But I do have a lot of free things to help with. So if you join, what I recommend is you click here, start here. And there's a lot of instructions in here and a lot of cool things. I'm telling you about what's going on. And then my favorite part about this is going down to the bottom. And I would check in some of these testimonials here. There's been some awesome progress of people that have been working in here. And as you can see, I mean, we have Crystal in here. We have Zane, Sandy, Angel, Jeffrey. So a lot of people are chatting in here. This is pretty great. I'm going to be doing these workshops, guys, every Monday night. So if you like this style of content or whatever, let me know. Like what challenges are you currently having, or what would you like to see, or what? Because I'm doing these for you guys, like honestly. So any feedback on any of this is great. And if you haven't joined yet, Dollar Discipline University, the link is down in the description of this video if you're watching this on YouTube. And hopefully I'll see you inside. If not, maybe I'll see you in next week's Monday workshop. So have a good one, guys. Have a great night.